Hello, welcome to our lab session of the microwave engineering. This is our microwave trainer, that is Envis 9091, and we are going to perform each and every experiment in this training kit. So we are having this kit. You can see. We'll start with this is our setup for microwave test bench, and you can see this is our power source. So this is a gun based microwave test bench which will have different component attached to it. You can see that different components are attached with our test bench, and this is CRO, we are seeing the signal, and various other components are placed on the bench. So one by one we'll see the functioning of each. So this is the gun based microwave test bench. So this is our gun power supply, which will provide power supply to the gun diode as well as to the pin modulator. Now this test bench will work at 8 to 12 gigahertz. That band is called X band. Now in order to generate a X band frequency, that is 8 gigahertz to 12 gigahertz, we are using gun based, or we are using gun oscillator. So the power required for the gun oscillator is provided by this gun power supply module. So it will have a gun bias. We can vary the bias. You can see here the voltage and current. Now it can operate in many modes. Right now it is in a, if it is visible, it is written, it is in a internal modulation mode. In internal modulation mode, it will generate 1 kilohertz square wave, and it will transmit, modulate using pin modulator, and it will transmit, and we will see the we can receive the signal at the end, at the receiver side. So this will have a basically internal mode. Then it will have a audio signal mode. We can give audio signal at the input, and it will have a PC data mode. We can connect two PC at the both side of the microwave test bench, as well as it will have a continuous mode. So it will have basically 4 mode: continuous mode, then internal mode, audio mode, and PC mode. So this we have to select one of the mode. Right now we are selecting the internal. This mode select switch is used to select different mode. Right now we are selecting a internal mode, so that it will generate a 1 kilohertz square wave, and it can be transmitted over a microwave test. The voltage required for gun can be varied by using this knob, that is called gun bias mode, and the frequency, that is modulation frequency at the input of pin modulator, can be varied by this knob, and the pin bias, that is bias voltage required for pin modulator, can be varied by this. Now this is the pin bias. This voltage is given to pin modulator. This is our pin modulator. And second is gun supply. So we have given power supply to gun. So our first component is gun oscillator. You can see we have given power to gun using our gun power supply. So now this gun oscillator will generate 8 to 12 gigahertz, that is X band frequency. Now we can vary the frequency using this meter. We'll vary this and frequency will change, but this is very sensitive, so we are not going to touch once we have set up everything. Next is gun oscillator. So gun oscillator, we are giving power supply and we are selecting this particular range, so it will generate some frequency which will be in range of microwave frequency, and we will have a microwave power. Now this, we want to send some signal, so that signal will be sent, and we have selected internal mode, so that signal will be sent using pin modulator. So we will modulate our signal, that is the carrier frequency, or simply you can say over the microwave frequency, which will be in order 8 to 12 gigahertz, and that signal will be modulated by pin modulator. The power required to the pin modulator is already provided by this from the gun power supply. The next thing is Now in between these two, that is in between gun oscillator and pin modulator, you can see this is our gun oscillator and this one is our pin modulator. So in between these two we are having one component, it is called as isolator. So this is the isolator, you can read this, and the arrow is denoted along, it denotes the direction. So this component, as its name suggests, it will isolate the input circuitry from the rest of the circuitry. So what it will do is, it will not allow the reflected signal come back towards our source. Now our source is gun oscillator, and we have already seen in theory classes that if there will be impedance mismatch, then the reflected signal will there will be a reflected signal, and that signal will be that will come along generator. So if it will reach generator, then it may damage the generator. So in order to isolate between the source side, that is generator, and rest of the circuitry, we will use a isolator. So isolator will not allow the signal, that reflected signal, to come back towards the generator. So it will allow power only in this direction, from source to load. The next is attenuator. So you can see that first we are having a gun oscillator, then we are having an isolator, then pin modulator, next is attenuator. So many a times we require to set our amplitude level. So that amplitude level can be set using this variable attenuator. You can also see I am changing the attenuation, and the output signal amplitude may vary. So we can change its amplitude, or we can have more or less attenuation by varying this micrometer. So by varying this micrometer, what will happen? There will be one knob inside this. So this knob will obstruct the field which is going in forward direction, and because of this obstruction of field, there will be more attenuation. So it will be least when this micrometer will be at least count. The next thing is direct readout frequency meter. So this is our direct readout frequency meter. So we don't know at which frequency right now we are transmitting. This will be in 8 to 12 gigahertz. So by using this direct readout frequency meter, we can determine at which frequency we are transmitting right now. So in this you can see there are various scale. Here there is scale. These are the scale. So you can see from 8 gigahertz to 12 gigahertz, the least reading is 8 gigahertz, and the maximum reading is 12.4 gigahertz. So this is our X band. So if we are having a frequency calibration, so if we'll rotate this, you can see this red line, and there are two horizontal lines. So wherever these two will intersect, let me refocus this. So wherever this two line will intersect, one is your vertical line and horizontal line. Right now it is 9.66. So in between these two, whatever the frequency, right now it is 9.66. It means it is working at 9.66. If the reading are like this, then it will work at 9.68, but it is not working at 9.66 because we have to see at the output side. We will see in second practical. So this is direct readout frequency meter. We can change its frequency by rotating this. So we have to determine at which frequency right now our workbench is, or our trainer is working. We can do this using direct readout frequency meter. So this is our direct readout frequency meter. This will work on cavity based principle. So this will work as a cavity. Whatever the signal, very small amount of signal will be given to cavity, and it will resonate at some particular frequency. So that particular frequency is the frequency where this will work. So this is direct readout frequency meter. Next is called slotted waveguide section. So you can see this is our waveguide. This will be rectangular waveguide, WR90 waveguide, and in rectangular waveguide we have done a slot. So this is visible or not, I don't know. So this, you can see the slot. Sorry. So this is the top view. Let me give you the side view. The camera is not working properly. So this is our slotted waveguide section. We are having a slot here. Now what we'll do is we will move our slot. This here we are having a probe, or you can say simply we are having a detector. So we can move our detector we can detect the signal using this probe. Now this probe will have a pin. Let me show you. So this probe will have a pin. You can see this. This is a conductive pin. So whenever the electric field will come, this electric field will induce voltage over this pin, and we are having a diode at this. Inside this casing we are having a pin demodulator. So this diode will act as a demodulator, and it will be given wherever we want to see. Like right now we want to see in our CRO. So whenever I will mount this structure, it will give the output signal. So it will detect the signal. And so now we have seen in our transmission line problem that whenever there will be mismatch between a load and characteristic impedance of a line, there will be a mismatch. Then there will be formation of a standing wave. Now this standing wave will form that will be a static wave whose amplitude will vary from one end to other. So at each and every location its amplitude will vary. So it will form, some location it will form maxima, and in some other location it will form minima. So we can see by varying the location, by varying the detection, we are having this probe. We will vary the location of probe by using this carriage. So by changing this location, we can see there will be change in, you can see here, there is change in amplitude. At some location it will have, so you can see the change in amplitude. At some location we are having minima like this, and at some location the amplitude will be maximum. So we can find out the distance between two maxima or two minima by using this scale, and we can find out the frequency of operation, and we can also find out the impedance of this transmission line. Next is we are having some component with us for test batch. So these are the component. For a second. So I will demonstrate this component one by one. So let's start with a simple kind of a. Let's start with. So this you already see. This is our variable attenuator. That is what I was telling. So by varying this knob, you can vary the attenuation. It may not visible. So there is one flap. You can see this. There is one flap inside attenuator. So this flap will change its dimension. It will be more if it is at maximum size, and it will have a maximum attenuation, and it will be less when it is at minimum location. So this will provide attenuation to the signal. Next is we are having some, let us say I want to divide. Right now this is a straight line. So whatever the signal we are giving, and that signal is transmitting in a straight line. Now we want to divide some power like in our circuit. So we were using, simply we are connecting our wire such a way that the power or current will divide. Now the power will be divided using, in a microwave circuit at high power, high frequency, we will use this waveguide component. So if you want to divide power, we will use simple kind of a T, because the shape is like T, that's why this is called a microwave T. Now there are two kind of T, one is called E plane T and H plane T. Now what is this E plane and H plane? So E plane is nothing but the plane which is perpendicular to ground plane. The ground plane is same, what you understand, this will be the parallel to the ground, that is our ground plane. So the plane which is perpendicular to ground plane, that is called E plane. So if this is my ground plane, that is horizontal plane, or you can say H plane, the plane which is perpendicular to this plane is called E plane. So if you place your component such as in a ground in manner, you can find out, you can see this, if you place the component in a ground, then it will place like this. And if we want to identify which T is H plane T or which T is E plane T, you can easily find out that this particular T will have the maximum size, or you can say the larger size of this waveguide is along E plane. So this side, or you can say the longer side, will be along E plane, because this is in E plane. So this particular T is E plane T, that is the larger side of this waveguide, or let us take, this is the smaller section of this waveguide is A and the larger section of this waveguide is B. Then the larger part of this waveguide will be along vertical direction, that's why this kind of T is E plane T, while here you can see this will be the parallel to the ground, that's why this T will be H plane T. So there are two kind of T, one is called H plane T and second one is called E plane T. So the property of this T is, let us take, we are giving power to this port. This is, let us take, this will be our input port. Then the power will divide equally in these two ports, and it will have same phase. So we are giving power, some power, input power to this. Let us take, that will be, input power is P1. Then the power will be divided equally. So half the power will be available at this port and other half power will be available at this port. And the phase at each port will be same. So if you will take a phase difference between these two ports, then that will be equal to 0. So it will divide power equally and phase difference will be 0 in case of a H plane T, because this plane is parallel to horizontal, or you can say ground plane. So this is our H plane T. Similarly, if we are having an E plane T, this is our E plane T. Let us take, we are giving power to this particular port. This will be our input port and these two will be our output port. So what will happen? The action will be same. That is, the power, whatever power we are feeding at the input port, it will divide equally in the adjacent arm, but now the phase difference will be 180 degree. So whatever the phase here, if we will take difference between these two phases, then the phase will be 180 degree out of phase. So this is our E plane T. We will discuss more about these T's and its operation in our theory session. So these are simply a T which is used to divide the power. The next is the combination of these two T is called magic T. So we will see magic T, called magic T. It will have a 4 port. You can see port number 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it is a magic T. Now why it is magic T? Because many applications can be done using this, and this will behave depending upon application. It will behave as a, you can say, it can behave as a coupler or circulator, or many other roles are there. It can be used as a multiplexer, not a multiplexer, what we call. Many applications are there, but so it is combination of both E plane T and H plane T. Let us take, this is E plane kind of a behavior. If we'll give power to this port, then power will divide equally in these two port, adjacent port, and no power will be available at H arm. This is E arm, the above one is H arm, and these two are called side arm. So when we will give power to E arm, power will divide equally in the adjacent arm, that is side arm, but the power will be 180 degree out of phase, and the signal, there will be no signal at the H plane, or you can say H port. Similarly, if you give power to H port, now power will divide equally in adjacent arm, but there will be no power at the E plane or E port. Similarly, if you provide power to one of the side arm, then power will be available in these two arms, but there will be no power. So these two adjacent arm are called, or these two side arm are isolated arm. So power cannot go from this direction to this direction. These are isolated arm. So this is the magic T. The next thing is we are having, this is called directional coupler. It is basically a 4 arm, and this will have a 4 port. These are port number 1, port number 2, port number 3, and the fourth one is this port is it is connected to the match arm. So basically this is 4 port device, but it will work right now as a 3 port device. So port 1, port 2, port 3. Now you can see that, so these are two waveguide. You can see this is one waveguide and the bottom waveguide. So in between these two waveguide, we will have many holes. So if we want to connect more power, then we are having more number of holes. If we want to connect less power, then we are having less number of holes. Now the application, or you can say the working of this directional coupler is, let us take, we are providing power to one of this arm. So if power will goes to this arm, then most of the power will be available to this arm. Now depending upon its characteristic, either it will be 10 dB directional coupler, 20 dB directional coupler, or 3 dB directional coupler, then the power will be available accordingly at this sampled arm. So this is basically used to find out power, or to sample the power which is going in main arm. That is, if this will be simply a straight rectangular waveguide, then we are giving power to this arm and the power out will be available at this arm. But we want to find out that how much power is connected from one arm to another arm. Then we will take a sample of power, then that power will be available. So very small power will be available to this arm. So let us take an example. I am having a 100 watt power here, and here we are having a, so 100 watt power is available here. We are giving 100 watt power here, and so if it is a, you can say 3 dB coupler. 3 dB coupler means half of the power whatever the power going in this arm, the half of power should be available at this arm, 3 dB coupler. So if it is a 3 dB coupler, then if 100 watt is given, then 50 watt power should be available at this arm, and rest of the 50 power should be available at this arm. Basically our directional coupler, we take very small amount of power, so it will be 10 dB coupler or 20 dB coupler. So 10 dB coupler means it will take only a 1/10 of power. 20 dB means it will take 1/100th of power. So whatever the power going from this arm, once again let us take it is 100 watt, then if it is a 10 dB directional coupler, then 1/10 of power means 100 divided by 10. So this will have 10 watt of power. I am taking I am assuming this power levels. If it is 1 watt, then 0.01 watt will be available at this arm. So this is called directional coupler. We are having different sets of directional coupler, like this is 20 dB directional coupler. You can see here it is written 20 dB directional coupler. Similarly, we are having different directional coupler. This is a 10 dB directional coupler, and we are having other. This is 15 dB directional coupler. So 3 directional couplers are available at our laboratory. this is all about power level. Now next is match termination. So we have seen in our theory classes that if load impedance is equal to characteristic impedance ZL is equal to Z0, then no reflection of power will take place and there will be no standing wave pattern. So if we want to match our load, if we want to find out ZL is equal to Z0, so we will terminate our port using this match termination. So if this will be placed, so it will not reflect power and this will behave as a match termination. So ZL is equal to Z0 and there will be no formation of a standing wave. So this is our match termination. Next is we are having the wait for a second. So this is our horn. Now horn also can be a E-plane horn or H-plane horn. Once again you can place on any surface and you can find out which kind of horn these are. So we have to see this, the larger side of a waveguide. So you can see that this both are, this waveguide section is along H. So this both are H-plane sectored horn. So horn can be E-plane sectored horn, H-plane sectored horn, etc. So these both are H-plane sectored horn. So we can in one of the experiment we can do is will transmit using one type, we can transmit using one antenna or one horn and will receive in second horn and we will find out that what will be the gain. So these are our horns, these are horn antennas and these are our H-plane horn. Then if we want to have a band, we are having different kind of band. If always we do not have a circuitry like a straight line. So if we want to bend our circuitry, then we are having this kind of band. Once again you can see that the band can be E type, H type, whatever you want. This is which kind of band? You can see this bending. So this is you place on any surface and you can find out which kind of band it is. So this plane is parallel to H plane, ground plane, so this will be your H plane band. The second band is this one. When you place on ground, you can see this portion is perpendicular in an E plane. It is in perpendicular to H, so this will be our E plane band. So we are having two band, E plane band and H plane band. Now many a times the situation will arise where we want to convert from one plane to other plane, like we want to convert our circuitry from E plane to H plane. So there is waveguide twist, like this is the waveguide and that waveguide is twisted. So what will happen? So in one side it is, you can see this is H plane and on the other side it will be E plane. So waveguide twist can be used to orient our planes. We can convert H plane to E plane and E plane to H plane. The next is different kind of fixed attenuator. We have already seen this variable attenuator which is also placed here. So we are having different fixed attenuators. So this will provide fixed attenuation because it will not be seen using this. You can see there is a fixed plate inside this waveguide. So this will attenuate. It will attenuate our wave because this plate dimension are fixed. So it will provide a fixed attenuation. So these are different fixed attenuation. We are also having a variable attenuation. And we are having a coupler. You can see we have seen isolator. Isolator will not allow the energy which can flow in opposite direction. It can flow energy in only single direction. That we have placed between the gun oscillator and between pin and gun, or you can say that will isolate the input circuitry, that is our source and rest of the circuit. So it will not allow reflected signal to be, it will not allow signal which is reflected from load side towards the generator side, because it may affect our gun oscillator. So next is this circulator. So the role of circulator is same as isolator. Now this is 3-port circulator, or you can say 3-port isolator also you can say. So 3-port circulator is nothing but if you will give power to one of the port, let us take and give power to this port, then power is available only to next port in a clockwise direction. So we have to move in a clockwise direction. So whichever the next port in a clockwise direction, power is available only to next port. It is not available to any other port. So these are the circulator. We'll see how it will work and what are the principles behind working of this in our theory session. So this will be our first practical. In first practical, what we have seen is, we have seen different components, like we have seen this E plane T, H plane T. We have found out that how this T will work, what are the working principle of each kind of a component, and from this to T we are having mixture of this to T, that is called as magic T. And we have seen attenuator. This blue ones are not working. So this is our attenuator. This is our variable attenuator. Then we have seen different kind of horns. These are our H-plane horn. We have seen circulator. We have seen various kinds of band. Various bands are there. E-plane band, H-plane band. Then we are having this attenuator. We are having the directional coupler. And we've seen that how this complete test bed will work. And in next lecture or next laboratory, what we will do is we will find out the frequency. We don't have adjusted this frequency right now. I don't know at which frequency it is working. We can adjust the frequency using this. So I don't know right now at which frequency we are working. We can find out the frequency by using this floated waveguide section. What we'll do is, there are two methods. In one method we will find out the frequency of operation using this floated waveguide section, and in second portion we'll find out the frequency using this direct frequency readout meter. You can see direct frequency readout meter. So we will find out the frequency using direct frequency readout meter. So this is the setup for our laboratory. First of all, we are having a klystron, we are having a gun power supply. Then that will provide power supply to the oscillator. That is our gun oscillator, and this is our pin diode. In between these two we are having the isolator. This will be followed by attenuator, and attenuator is followed by, this is our direct readout frequency meter, which is once again will be followed by, this is our slotted waveguide section. So next lecture we will use this slotted waveguide section and we will find out distance between two maxima and or two minima by rotating, by sliding this slider over the slotted waveguide section, and we will find out the distance between two maxima and minima, and we will find out the frequency of operation of this particular waveguide, our microwave test bench. So thank you for now.